The suspect who has been accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk has not been cooperating with law enforcement, but those around him reportedly are. And what's been clear, at least so far from the preliminary investigation, is that the suspect was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology. And also, while the pro-LGBT groups were literally up in arms over such suggestions early on, it certainly is turning out that those ties are existing. In fact, Utah Governor Spencer Cox confirmed yesterday on ABC News this week that the suspect lived with a romantic partner who was undergoing so-called gender transition. He was going from male to female. So what are the chances that this could just be an unrelated detail? Or is there probably something to the trans ideology that makes people more susceptible to extreme actions? Well, joining me now to discuss all of this is Walt Heyer. Walt is a senior fellow here at the Family Research Council who himself has fallen victim to the ideology before detransitioning more than 30 years ago. He's also co-author of the book, Embracing God's Design. Walt, welcome back to Washington Watch. Always great to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Jody, for having me on. It's a great conversation to have today.
Well, it's a very important conversation, and I appreciate you taking time to be with us. But this suspect's romantic relationship, as it appears to be with a trans individual, could be coincidence. But would you be at all surprised if it's not?
Well, I don't think it's coincidence at all. I think what we've seen with these clinics, hormones, and surgery, what we've seen is how hormones by themselves devalue, dehumanize, and begin to destroy a person's ability to function as a man or a woman, if they're a man, to function as a man. The hormones are dangerous. They alter the way they think, feel, and behave. I know that because I took them for 12 years. And so I think one of the things that I've thought about many, many times, Jody, is that these hormones should not be available to anyone in the United States for the strict sole purpose of, quote, changing their gender, or this terminology, transitioning. The fact of the matter is no one in all of world history has ever changed their gender. Hormones and surgery does not change your gender. It alters the way you look, feel, and behave. And oftentimes, if we understand what the hormones are, they're anabolic steroids. They're actually dangerous. And they cause people to behave in ways sometimes more aggressively, sometimes not more aggressively. But I think until such time as we've had a great deal of more studies about the effects, which we haven't really taken the time. I wish the president or HHS would really dig in and stop allowing hormones to be given out to people throughout the United States, because we have no regulations on how many hormones they get. They can overdose on them. Planned Parenthood gives them out. We give them out like candy, and they're destroying people. And they destroyed my life until I stopped taking them after 12 years. And so I think this is a key element. This shooter was obviously influenced deeply by his romantic partner, somebody who's, quote, transitioning, which is an interesting word. Nobody ever transitions because you can't. That's part of the thing that really gets me, is that, we have this hormones and surgery, these gender clinics. They don't change anybody's gender. I've been frustrated with people keep saying that people transition. They don't transition. They don't change genders. And that's why, I often say I didn't detransition because they never transitioned me. All they did was mutilate me. And that's really the bottom line, is they can change your function, but they cannot change your gender. And I think when we start having a more serious conversation and start talking about the fact that these hormones don't change your gender, what is the purpose of using them if they don't change your gender? We need to look into what the underlying causes. That's what Jennifer and I delved into in this book, Embracing God's Design, which is an outstanding book, not because of me, but because of Dr. Bowen's joining with me in that book. And everybody should get their hands on Embracing God's Design by Walt Heyer and Jennifer Bowens. And you'll find out that underneath
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this real quickly, Walt. Outstanding, and I do. Embracing God's Design. We have a copy of it. Outstanding book, and I encourage everyone to do that. It's not just the hormones in the medication that you bring up, though. It's the ideology itself that is also destructive, isn't it?
Well, the ideology is what fostered the clinics, right? So if we take down the clinics, we can start taking down the ideology. The ideology is based in hormones and surgery. And so if you eliminate the hormones and surgery, you begin to eradicate the ideology. And keep in mind, they found out back in 1979, doctors found out that it was not effective to give people hormones and surgery. In 1979, they closed all of the gender clinics that were in universities that year because they said this was ineffective and it was harmful and it was causing too many people to commit suicide and be depressed about their lives. Actually, hormones cause you to be more depressed and cause more anxiety. And so I think what we're seeing with shooters who are, which there's a record of them now, where people are taking hormones, act in a bad way and harm people. And it's because they don't like who they are. They don't like anybody. And so they're not out there. The hormones are not helping anybody. They're really destroying and eroding the foundation of our families and our society. And we really need to take a definite hard look at making them available. I would, if it was up to me, there wouldn't be any hormones and surgery available for anybody in this country.
Well, you have certainly experienced it. We've only got about 30 seconds left here, but the broader community really needs, the Christian community needs to be on top of this issue. Real quickly, where can people get a copy of the book, Embracing God's Design?
EmbraceTheDesign.com. And you can go to that website, or you can go to WaltHeyer.com, and we can help you find a book. They're out there at Amazon, they're at Barnes & Noble, so there's a lot of availability. And so please get the book. It will really help anyone who looks at this book, help them understand what's really underneath it all.
Thank you so much, Walt Heyer, FRC Senior Fellow. We appreciate it.